after September 11th, our committee said, okay, let's use this opportunity to show the TV news that Muslims can have fun too.
My name is Irfan Rydhan. I'm the founder of HalalFest.
HalalFest, America's largest halal food and Eid festival.
The first of its kind restaurant. We supporting restaurants that serve halal food.
They're getting new customers as well. They're a company that haven't even heard of them before.
How come we had never invited non-Muslims to our festivals before? They decided to start a media outreach committee and train the community on how to do interviews. That's how it kind of started.
I'm sure, along the way you were faced with some challenges.
So one time a vendor started letting people come to the back of their space. So somebody came and bumped into the fence and it fell down.
Why do you think, in your opinion, it's really important to get involved with the community?
It's important for community members to get involved, and if they want to see a change, then, as they say, you have to be the change. My name is Irfan Rydhan, and I'm the founder of HalalFest in the Bay Area.
Right on.
That's awesome. You've been like a really significant figure that I'm sure a lot of people have seen your face across all these different events. So how do you explain everything that you do within a few sentences?
Yeah, so basically my actual background in education is architectural design. So that's what I studied in university. And on the side, I've always been, involved in the community. In my local masjid at SBIA in San Jose, I was, pretty much went to Sunday school there and always been volunteering. And ever since then, I've been just involved in different community events. Nice. And then eventually kind of used all that experience that I had and kind of turned it into a business on the side.
Nice.
Right on. That's
amazing.
Cool. Awesome. So, cool. So could you share with us a little bit about your childhood growing up and what led to you, studying architectural design and getting into the food? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. So basically, I'm born and raised here in San Jose. So as I mentioned, I grew up going to the South Bay Islamic Association in San Jose. And actually, my late father was one of the founding members of that masjid. So, I was very involved from a young age there. My father is the one who kind of recommended me to architecture because there is, some art and drawing involved in that. And it's also, more respectable career. Yeah. So then, I went to school to study architectural design. I went to junior college, West Valley in Saratoga, because they have a good architecture program at the time. This was in the early 90s. And then I got a chance to transfer to UC Berkeley and, studied architecture there and then started working there. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. That's a really cool journey. I mean, could you share a few challenges that you had along the way? Even obviously you had to go from this dream of a cartoon artist to architecture. That's a pretty big transition. So how was that like?
Yeah, it was difficult because especially when I went to junior college first, I was also kind of just it's straight from high school, and I was still kind of transitioning into a college, so I was kind of not taking it as serious as I should. So I kind of spent 3 years at West Valley College, and then the interesting thing is my father had gone to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is a well-known technical school for engineering and architecture. So, I had applied there and then applied to other schools in Berkeley as well. But first I didn't get accepted in Berkeley. And so then I was planning to go to Cal Poly school. And then for some reason at the last minute, the UC Berkeley contacted us and said, there was a mistake in your admission. So you did actually meet the criteria to go. So then I decided to go there. So it's kind of funny, looking back at certain decisions that you make when you're younger, and then you can see how your path changes and evolves So now I'm gonna be 50 years old this year, alhamdulillah. So now I can kind of look back a little bit about certain decisions I made when I was younger and which way I could have went. Like if I went to Cal Poly, but then at the same time while I was at Berkeley, I got involved with the excuse me, I got involved with the MSA, or at that time it was in the UC Berkeley. It was called the MSU, Muslim Student Union. So there was a lot of activity happening for the Muslims and this was in the mid 90s. So and actually, so I met a good friend of mine there at UC Berkeley. His name's Javed Malik. He was actually a student at San Francisco State, and he studied radio and television broadcasting. So I was also interested in media. So my friend was recording a conference at Berkeley at the time. So then I just randomly said, "Hey, can I help you out with the?" Because he was videotaping with a handheld camera. And then he said, "Yeah, sure." He was wondering like, who was this random kid coming up to him? But then we kind of hit it off, and then we started doing some stuff after school. And he lived in Berkeley, so I was staying there as a student. So then we after graduation. Then we started a small side business. So I was still working at architecture company in Emeryville at the time after school. But then we started doing like production stuff.
Nice.
So production company, right?
Yeah. So it was called Jam Productions, and at that time, this was before YouTube. If you can believe that. So we were making we started doing like wedding videos, but it was kind of funny because we it was mostly Desi weddings, and I'm sure you're familiar with how it goes. But basically, we used to take that opportunity to try out different techniques. So one time we had like a big dolly, which is a big track.
Yeah.
And we're just riding on it and doing everything. I mean, people are just watching us like, what's going on here? Because we used
dolly in a wedding.
Yeah.
That common.
So it wasn't common. And then we used to have the headphones with the walkie-talkies and stuff. So we had a good time. And then, but basically, we started making other types of videos like music videos, and then we made a documentary. So we were actually working on a documentary about the students at UC Berkeley, because there was a big conference in the 1996. We called the Wahda Conference. And it's kind of a famous Muslim student conference. Basically, anti-Zionist and pro-Palestinian conference. And it made the news and stuff too. But so we were making a documentary about that particular conference. So we were making a documentary about that particular conference. This was in 2001. Then September 11th happened while we were shooting this documentary. So then we said, "Oh, okay, we have to do something we have to change we got to stop this thing and work on something about this subject." So just the two of us. So we spent. It took us 14 months, I think. So yeah. So we dropped that. We made a whole new project where we said, okay. There's a lot of stuff happening in the news. And this was like when cable TV news was still new, right? So now all the news channels are doing stories about Islam and Muslims, but they're not really talking to any Muslims in America.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. They're not really talking to any Muslims in America, so what they're doing is mostly going and talking to Muslims overseas, or the people they're talking to don't speak English correctly or properly, and they just speak to some random uncle at a masjid. And at that time, the Muslim community, at least in San Jose area, was not that experienced with media. So me and Javed, my friend, we just started actually doing some volunteering for the masjid and talking about media as a profession. So then after September 11th happened, the San Jose masjid, or the SBIA masjid, they decided to start a media outreach committee. So I was kind of recruited. I was just a volunteer, and people in the masjid knew that I was doing some, like you guys are doing some production stuff. So they knew that I was involved in some kind of media related thing. So they said, hey, we want to put together an outreach committee and train the community on how to do interviews. That's how it kind of started. So then, I got involved, and then eventually we created a very big committee with men and women and young people, and actually some seniors as well. So it was a big mix of different members and people who were also converts to Islam as well. So we started doing some programs in the masjid, and some very interesting programs. So, like, for example, now it's common for most masjids to have a interfaith iftar. But for us, I believe we were the first masjid to do it, and this was in 2002.
Nice.
So like a year after September 11th. And so our committee kind of came up with this idea. We said, let's invite the media to the masjid, like the TV or newspaper. There was a thing called newspapers back then. So, at that time, even CARE was still pretty new. So they didn't even think of this idea. So we came up with this plan, and then we invited we did a press release. We sent it out, and we were able to get like a front page coverage on the San Jose Mercury News paper, and then from there, the head of CARE at the time, it was a brother who he's not involved anymore, but he said, "Wow, this is amazing." So he took this example. He took the newspaper, and he went to different masjids and said, "Hey, look, this is what we can do at your masjid too." So CARE kind of took the ownership of that, and they started getting other masjid, like MCA and other masjids involved, and I'm sure over here at Sabah as well. So that was one idea that we kind of spearheaded. Another interesting one was where our masjid, also SBIA, was in the late 90s. We were like one of the first ones to do very large Eid Mela, Eid festival in the fairgrounds in San Jose. This was before all the masjids started doing their own, Eid thing. So it was a very big, it was a very big festival that they used to do at the fairgrounds every year, and with carnival rides and the whole thing. So after September 11th, our committee said, okay, let's use this opportunity to show the TV news that Muslims can have fun too, right? We have some holidays, and so we were always thinking, hey, well, how come we had never invited non-Muslims to our festivals before?
Yeah.
Right? It's one of our big holidays, and it's a time where we're happy and everybody's smiling and everything's usually good. So complete opposite of what you normally see on TV. So September 11th basically kind of woke up a lot of the different communities in the Muslim communities to kind of open up their masjid more. right? So same thing with ours. So because before September 11th, we were just focused on our own internal problems that we had as a community. So now we have no choice. We have to deal with people coming to the masjid, news reporters and neighbors and non-Muslims asking questions. So we have to open it up and do these kind of interfaith things and invite them. So we invited. We were the first ones to invite non-Muslim speakers to the Eid. This is like the mayor of San Jose, the police chief, the fire department person. Excuse me. And then we also invited, obviously, interfaith leaders and some other, dignitaries of the community, the greater community. So, and they used to come and speak before the Eid namaz, before the Eid prayers. So there was one person that our imam at the time, Imam Tahir Anwar, he was kind of our advisor for the committee too. So he invited people that he knew, involved in the city, because he was also helping out with different city commissions and things like that. So one of them was a deputy of the San Jose police at the time. So he had come to our Eid a couple times before, and just as a guest, and he didn't speak or anything. And then one day he happened to become promoted to the chief of police. Right, so then he got to speak, and then he made an announcement at the Eid. He said, "Okay, I've been coming here to your Eid every after every Ramadan, and very impressed with your community. And next year, I'm gonna fast the whole month of Ramadan."
Oh, nice. Wow.
And this was the chief of police of San Jose.
Wow.
So obviously, it became international news. It was like in Lebanese newspaper on all this,
Wow.
all this stuff. So. And just to go back one step, so while we were doing all these new activities in the masjid, so obviously sometimes the people who are already there, because maybe their ego or some other, I don't want to say jealousy, but sometimes people have, they think about only themselves, right? So then, unfortunately, that happened. Was fortunate and unfortunate, because unfortunate, this person who was he was kind of in charge of the Eid at the time, like the bazaar and arranging everything. So he got mad that these guys, the media committee, is taking over the Eid, right?
Yeah.
And he even came up to me one time at the Eid, right up to my face. They said, "You guys in the media committee are trying to take over everything," and
Yeah.
I was like, "No, we're not. We're just trying to make it better, right?" So, which is the truth. We're not. I didn't want to do anything else. I just was focusing on doing the media relations at the time. So the interesting thing that happened is that he stepped down. He resigned because he got upset. And he was on the board, and by that time I was also on the board. Again, my father kind of pushed me to go on the board of directors at the time. So I got in, and then since that guy stepped down, they said, "Okay, somebody else is gonna take over the Eid Mela. So Irfan, you gotta do it now." I was like, "What?" I don't know anything about putting together a mail or anything. But then I took the opportunity. So I said, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it my way, right? And, I have a architectural background right at that time. So I'm used to drawing layouts and planning everything properly, organized.
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it my way. And I'm gonna have a vendor contract, because at that time, this is again 2002, I believe. All the vendors who just came they had a verbal agreement with the guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a back home India, Pakistan style, right?
Not really official.
Yeah, not official. So people just used to do whatever. They used to just bring extra tables, take up a lot of space. So I said, no. I said, everybody has to sign this agreement, and I'm going to increase the prices too. They used to just give some donation of, I don't know how much it was, maybe $20-$30 at the time. So I said, no, we're going to increase it $50. And then if you have an extra table, you got to pay more. You can't just bring whatever you want. Obviously, some people got upset about that, but because I was very organized and I was communicating with the vendors, like, you know, emailing, and so a lot of people were happy about that, because they said, oh, this is very, very good, very organized, and I like the communication. And then obviously some people were not happy about that, because, you know, they didn't want to pay more, right? So another interesting thing that happened from that is that the president of the masjid at the time, and he passed away unfortunately, but at that time, somebody, one of the vendors had complained to him, right, to try to go around me, right? And so he did a good thing. He said, no, Irfan's in charge of this. You have to listen to him. You got to talk to him. So he could have done the typical, you know, Desi Muslim way and just said, okay, don't worry, I'll hook you up, right? Don't worry about it. But he said, no, you got to do it through Irfan. You got to do it the proper way. So that kind of gave me the confidence to say, okay, you know, I was in my early 20s at the time, so I was still considered a young person who, you know, the older people, you know, some people didn't accept it. But so that gave me the confidence to say, okay, I'm doing things properly. And then so that vendor contract actually, so all that experience or all that, you know, what happened there gave me the experience. So then I got to learn about contracts and vendors and food. And, you know, at that time, they were also just used to have the same food person come every time. So I said, okay, well, now's a chance I can try to invite some other people, right? Different vendors. So that's how I got all this experience. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I was still on the board at the time. And then another thing happened, which was that there was another masjid called MCA, which is, you know, a big masjid here in the Bay Area. And they had someone on their board had contacted us because they wanted to do some event at Great America. Okay. They said, "Oh, let me check it out. You know, it's Great America. Maybe something that we can work together." And I remember the president telling me, you can't trust these guys, but go ahead if you want to go talk to them. Go ahead. So I was okay. You know, it's not. I don't think it's going to hurt us to go talk to them. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. So I went there. I met with the board member, and then he introduced me to another brother. His name is Amir Wahid. So he used to live right next to Great America. And his wife, Asma, she actually had the idea to do a Muslim day at Great America. This was 2005. Okay. So, see, I'm going, starting from 1978.
Yeah,
okay, now I'm getting closer. It's 2005. So it's still a few years away. So when were you guys born?
2005.
Okay, so you guys were not even walking around yet.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So I met the guy, met the people, and then So Asma, Amir's wife, had, when she was in college at UC Davis, they had done like a Muslim, they called it Muslim Mania or something like that. So they did something when she was in college at Great America, and then so she kind of told her husband, hey, why don't we get MCA to help us with or do a Muslim day? Yeah, so she told her husband to go talk to the MCA masjid because they used to live close by there, and they were attendees of the masjid. And then the MCA board member that they were talking to, his name was Edgar. He said, "Oh, this is a good idea. Let's see if other masjids want to get involved." So he had contacted all the local masjids. So that's how I got, contacted. So then, I met with Amir. I said, "Yeah, this is a good idea. It's a good idea." And then I said, so I came up with a theme. I said, instead of just Muslim Day, let's call it Muslim Unity Day, where we have all the masjids come together. Because, I've seen the history, right, of just between two masjids, right?
Yeah.
There's always a problem.
Politics. Yeah.
So I said, let's get all the masjids. We get Shia Muslims, Sunni Muslims, we get the African American Muslims, we get everybody come together on one day, and we won't do it around Eid because everybody has different days for Eid and all that. We'll just pick a random day, and then they said, okay, let's do that. So yeah, MCA was the one that kind of was the financial sponsor of that first event. And, there's some interesting stories about that, but I won't get into that one right now. But basically, we were able to do it. We had a good turnout. I think about 3,000 people or so showed up. And we had almost all the major masjids involved, Sabah Center as well. And, it was good. So we had the first Muslim Unity Day in 2005.
Awesome. That's a really interesting journey to hear. I mean, all the way from the beginning of when you were doing the wedding videography and everything like that, all the way up to Muslim Unity. I think there was some point that you mentioned where after the 9/11 attacks where you started, the mosques did need to start training people to be able to talk in interviews and to be able to create media. I think even until this day, it's something really important that needs to happen where, for example, when events happen like Palestine and we don't have anyone from our end creating content and talking about it, and like, let's say some news reporter comes and asks, there's nobody really there to talk about these things. So I think it's definitely something that's important. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about HalalFest. So how did HalalFest officially get started, and like how were you part of that journey?
I use all my experiences in the past. So, I did Muslim Unity Day for about 7 years, and then, I got kind of just tired of doing the same thing over and over again. And, alhamdulillah, it was a successful event. But then I said, okay, I need to take a break now, step back. So I kind of stepped away from the organization, and then I was still working in architecture. So all the time I was doing all these activities, I was still working at an architecture job. But the architecture field is very up and down. So if anyone of your viewers or listeners is interested in architecture, it's not all it's all cracked up to be. It's very tough business. But anyways, 2012 rolled around, and then somebody on the East Coast, his name is Samir's Eats, he did an event in New Jersey, and I think he called it the Halal Food Festival. But basically, it was an indoor event because it's in the East Coast, New Jersey. It was kind of more like a expo or convention than a festival, and they had obviously food vendors and stuff. So then I said, "Oh, this is a good idea, but I want to do something with just food trucks." Okay. That was the original idea. Mm-hmm. So just a bunch of food trucks, all halal, of course, come together. And at that time, again, this was 2012, there wasn't too many halal food trucks around. There was maybe maybe 4 or 5, 6 maximum. So I started reaching out to some people that I knew, who I knew were reliable, trustworthy people, and I was out of a job. So I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to use my 10 plus years of experience of doing Muslim Unity Day and Eid Melas for nonprofits, because Muslim Unity Day was also a nonprofit organization. And I'm going to use this experience that I have to make money for myself and my family and all that. So then I said, okay, I'm going to talk to the people I worked with before on different events, and I invited them to join me. And I said, I'm going to do this as a business, so you're going to get some, some share of the proceeds. So, alhamdulillah, we had, I forgot how many people it was. I think 5 or 6 people. It wasn't too many. And they all gave in some money. So we all pitched in some money. And it took 1 whole year to plan the first event, because I wanted to make sure that it was right. It was done properly, right? Because there was nothing like this before on the West Coast. So, and we called it the California's first halal food festival. That was the first name. So, I had a young designer who kind of helped. He made the design, which now has evolved a little bit, but it's pretty much the same. And then had some other people, help out. And, we got some sponsorships, and then we got some vendors. So, so 2013 rolls around, and so we had our first event in August of 2013, and it was at the New Park Mall. And at that time, the New Park Mall was pretty much dead. They were like in need of business, so they used to rent out their parking lot for cheap. So at that time, they only charged us $500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so pretty cheap, yeah. The funny thing is, there was a masjid. I'm not going to mention the masjid's name. It was not one of the masjids I've already talked about. It was a different masjid. I first talked to them. I said, can I use your space? Because they had a big empty lot next door. They said, yeah, give us $3,000 and we can let you use it. Wow. So I said, I can't afford that. Yeah. So otherwise that would probably been, but it actually worked out, because one issue, obviously, now since then I've worked with almost all the masjids in the area, helping them with doing their own little festival, or sometimes big one, like we had here at Sabat for Suhoor Fest. But sometimes working with the masjids is difficult because everybody, they have a board, and then everybody wants to get involved and stuff. So this way, I'm in complete control of the event, right? So I can do whatever I want. So the planning, like I said, first just wanted to do food trucks. That's it. And then eventually, when the team members we were discussing, said, okay, why don't we have a bazaar too? So okay, yeah, that's easy because we've done bazaars everywhere. So we added a bazaar. And then someone said, why don't we do some kind of cooking demo? So, okay, let's arrange for a cooking demo because it's a food festival. Yep. And we said, what about eating contest? It's never been done before, right? For a Muslim event. So, okay, yeah, let's do an eating contest. And then we got to have some entertainment, so it started becoming bigger. So we added carnival rides. So the first event, we had a stage, we had some presentations, we had bazaar. Every event I have learned something from because basically everything you do, there's some failures, there's some mistakes you make, and then you learn from that, right? So the mistake that we made for the first one was that we thought, okay, maybe based on our past events that we've done at Muslim Unity Day and other things, we're estimating maybe 1,500, 2,000 people max going to show up. But a couple of mistakes we made. One was that it was a free event, admission.
Yeah.
Right? So that's mistake number one. And mistake number two was we said, okay, we're going to, instead of charging an entry, we're going to have these tokens, where we're going to create these tokens where people buy the tokens from us, and then they will use it for the food vendors. So we set it up like that, where the food vendors are not allowed to take any direct money, because we want to control all the thing. So that was a mistake. We learned the hard way. It was basically, since we were expecting 2,000 people max, and the New Park Mall security said, you guys got like 10,000 plus people right now. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. So part of it was because it was the first time that this type of event happened here in California, probably west of the Mississippi. And then, and obviously it made news because I used all my experience with working with media, and I had built up, when I was at the Masjid, SBI Media Committee, we built up connections with different news outlets, right? And they used to come and ask us questions. We used to, connect them to different Muslim speakers. And so I used all my connections to get media coverage. And then we did, marketing campaign. This was 2013. So Facebook pretty much became like open to the public. Before, Facebook was only restricted to college students, right? But now at this time, it just opened up to the public. So we just started doing Facebook promotion, and we still had printed flyers, and so we did heavy marketing. So alhamdulillah, it worked out well, and that's how it, every year it got more and more developed and better organized. And then alhamdulillah, the first year, we did not lose money. We just pretty much broke even. And then the next year, the second year, we said, okay, the goal is to make some money from this event. It's a for-profit business. So we said, let's charge a small entry fee, $5, right? And then some people in our group were saying, oh man, no one's going to pay to get in. They're used to coming going to the Eid meals for free. I said, yeah. I said, that's fine. Then they don't have to come if they don't want to pay $5, right? Yeah. It's not a big deal. But we made it, we didn't make it too difficult. We said children, I think 10 and under free. So it was, for us, so a family can still come, with young kids. They just have to pay like $10 or the two parents or whatever. Yeah. So obviously people criticized that why you're charging, and so that's a kind of a different subject about people criticizing businesses, right? for trying to make some money, which is, especially if it's a Muslim business, they think everything should be fi sabilillah. Everything should be, you shouldn't charge anything. Everything should, that's not the sunnah, right? That's not. Prophet Muhammad was a businessman as well, so there's nothing wrong with making money. And it's not like we're making. It's not a full-time business where we're making a full-time living out of this. It's but at that time I was not. I was out of a job, so it was. But so that's how it started.
Nice.
Wow. That's quite the journey, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
100%.
along the way you were faced with some challenges. So maybe if you want to talk about a little bit like the challenges that you were faced with and how you were able to overcome it, especially with, I know, like we had Chef Hisham earlier talking about like how sometimes we don't unite together to help Muslim businesses in general. So maybe you want to touch on a little some of the struggles that you had.
Yeah, so that's definitely an issue, like I mentioned before, like a lot of times. So one of the things that I try to emphasize with my team, and now we have a good team of people who have experience in restaurant industry as well as businesses. So we try to emphasize that part of the goal of HalalFest is obviously, the first goal is to promote halal awareness to Muslim community as well as non-Muslim community. Yeah, I've had this discussion with restaurant owners as well, who kind of complain about, how come Muslim community members, they don't support the businesses. And yeah, it's true to some extent. Now with social media, we have, like we have the Bay Area Halal Foodies, for example, which is kind of a microcosm of the community where people start complaining and criticizing businesses online. And, me personally, I don't like doing that. And some people think that I'm biased toward the business owner. And yeah, okay, I admit, since I'm a business owner as well, that I don't like getting criticized in public, right?
Yeah.
Personally, it's not very fun, right? And I used to, in the beginning of HalalFest, there was a lot of complaints, right? Obviously, because the first couple of events, it was craziness. And that still happens whenever there's a big event. There's
Someone got to say
something happen. Yeah, someone has to not be happy about something. And then I always tell people on my team and other people too, you're not going to be able to satisfy every single person, right? There's always going to be somebody complaining, even if the majority of the people enjoyed the event, it was a successful event. There's always going to be some issue, always going to be some problems, always going to be somebody criticize something. So you can't focus on that. And in the beginning, I used to just argue with people online. Yeah. So no, because people used to say this is the most disorganized thing in the whole world, and So I took offense to that because I'm like the one who's like putting all this time and effort in organizing everything. But again, I can't catch everything, and then when you're doing an event, something crazy happens. Like one time, at one of our early events in the New Park Mall parking lot, we had to put a fence because we used to charge a ticket to get in, right? So we fenced it off. So one time a vendor started letting people come to the back of their space to make it go faster or something. I don't know what. So somebody came and bumped into the fence and it fell down.
Wow.
And then somebody got hurt. So I was like, oh my God. Luckily, we didn't have to in a lawsuit or anything. But that could have been a big disaster there. But yeah, so you can't plan for every single thing. So but then after that happened, then we put it into our vendor contract to say you cannot allow people to come into your booth or behind your booth. You have to keep your line right. So, that's like I said. So every single thing that happens, then I added to the contract or added to the planning of the team. And then we used to make, now every major event, you kind of send a survey out to everybody, including the vendors and the attendees. Nice. And then we get the feedback. And we see what majority of people are complaining about and what majority of people like. And we try to improve for the next one, right? So that's one thing that we've implemented.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear those stories and just see how, I mean, however much you plan for something, there's always going to be something that goes wrong. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about, like, obviously you spent all these years doing community work. You were at SBIA doing the post 9/11 years. There was like obviously a lot of stories from those. But why do you think, in your opinion, it's really important to get involved with the community? And like, why is it something that every single person should be doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So me personally, I believe everybody should be involved in some way, because that's how we're gonna be able to grow as a community and improve. Like, a lot of people like to criticize and complain that, oh, these masjid board members are not doing it right or not doing this. So then if we have new people come in and help out, bring new ideas, and obviously, as my father used to say, fresh blood, right? So then that's how you can continue to grow and develop and bring new ideas. Like, so that's one thing that the SBIA was good at the time, and they're still good too. But at that time, they were letting us. Obviously, there was friction. There's always going to be friction, because if you're bringing in a new idea, a new concept, and some people think that's not. Why are we doing that, right? They think that, like the guy who resigned.
Yeah.
He said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you taking over?" Right? And no, we're trying to improve it, trying to make it better. Yeah. So now, like, for example, even though I'm not involved anymore for the Eid at SBIA, they still have some kind of vendor agreement based on the original one. Now it's like an online thing. And then I brought that same vendor contract to Muslim Unity Day. Obviously, it got developed and changed, and then I used it for HalalFest. Keep developing it, changing it. And then I randomly saw it at this other event that I was not connected to. Like, some people just stole the whole thing. That's fine. I mean, I don't have like a copyright on it or anything. But yeah, so it's important for community members to get involved, and if they want to see a change, then as they say, you have to be the change if you want to see something happen. Like now, the past couple of years, there's been more Muslims involved in politics, which is good. Right? There's always Muslim people who are running for different positions, local elections and mayors and city and state. So that's how it starts. You have to get involved. Otherwise, we can't just complain all the time.
I think as we wrap up today's episode, usually we give the guests 3 minutes for a quick segment of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1. What's your go-to comfort food?
Go-to comfort food. I would say pizza.
Pizza.
Cool. What emoji do you use the most?
Emoji. The laughing face with tears.
If you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, that's an interesting subject. A dinner with anyone dead or alive. Right now, I'd probably have to say my father.
Okay, for sure.
What is your favorite cuisine and dish?
Favorite cuisine? That's a good question. I think right now it's probably Thai food.
Yes.
It changes depending on my mood, right?
For sure. Yeah. Have you ever made an impulse decision that turned out well?
Impulse decision that turned out well. Let's see. I would have to think about that.
Okay, no worries.
Cool. What is your proudest accomplishment to date?
So to date, my proudest accomplishment is our HalalFest team was able to work with Islamic Relief.
Oh, nice.
And we worked with a lot of different halal restaurants in the Bay Area and Austin as well. and we raised like over $125,000 for Gaza relief. So
Wow.
that was pretty good. Yeah.
MashaAllah. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What skill are you eager to learn next?
What skill am I eager to learn next? That's a good question. I would say computer AI stuff.
Oh, nice. For sure.
Right on. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. That's a good question as well, man. I'm not prepared for these ones.
Sure.
You're good.
I think 5 years. I'm hoping that we can expand HalalFest to nationwide
Nice.
and have events in
Yeah.
other
Right.
cities as well.
For
inshallah.
sure.
Right
Yeah.
on.
How do you describe yourself in 3 words?
Let's see. I would say quiet and patient and driven.
Okay. What's your all-time favorite movie? We have 5 seconds.
Aliens.
Aliens. Nice.
That's
1
it.
second. And that's it. Awesome.
Right on.
All right.
Right on.
I just watched a documentary about aliens, so that's why.
Oh, nice.
There you
For
go.
sure.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. And as we wrap up today's episode, what advice would you give someone who's, looking to start getting more involved with community work and maybe even get involved with HalalFest?
Yeah, so advice I would give to people is, find a local organization that you're interested in working with and, reach out to them. If people are interested, they can send an email to HalalFest at info@halalfest.com. But yeah, just reach out to your local organization, whatever it is, and just volunteer. And that's how you start out, just volunteer, and then eventually you can grow and develop. Yeah.